Hey you guys, welcome to my channel. Thank you all for tuning in. As you can tell by the title, we're getting a little personal and we are discussing my miscarriage. And this video is long overdue, so please don't kill me. But this video is overdue and I've decided to re-record. So I did record the original video and I decided to delete it, and today I just out of the blue decided, hey, let me just go ahead and record this video since I deleted the last one and it's been several months since I said I was going to post it. But I did want to discuss with you all my miscarriage and my story, what I went through and how I got through and how I'm still getting through it. It's a never-ending struggle and a battle, but I feel that I am healed a lot better than the last video. I do, although, have my tissues just in case. The last video I cried and cried and cried so much, so this one I'm sure will be much better than the last one. But thank you for tuning in. Stay around, and this will be like a story time, and I'll discuss endometriosis and struggling with that and trying to get pregnant. But about a year ago, September the 23rd, a few weeks before that, a few days before that, I had been feeling nauseous and feeling really, really sick. And several people had mentioned to me, girl, I think you're pregnant. And of course I just kept saying, no, I don't think that I'm pregnant, and I just kind of blew it off. Then I'm not sure if you all know, I live here in Houston, and here in Houston we had a flood. Hurricane Harvey came through and hit us with a flood, and me and my husband were stuck at home a week straight, and that's around the time that I got pregnant. And after going to work, after of course going back to work after a week of being out of work, I started to feel a little weird, and I didn't want to say anything, but you know, sometimes us women, we overthink stuff, and I was just like, well, my cycle's supposed to come. I had just gotten off of my period right before the hurricane, so it was about 3 weeks, I believe. We were out of work for about a week, and it was about 3 weeks that I was actually out, or 3 weeks that I was actually back to work, that I started noticing a difference. So one day after work, my husband was bringing back home, and it was actually 2 days that I noticed like a big change. And usually around our time, women, we know we have our cravings or whatever, and I was actually craving this spot called Crab Kings or King Crabs. Anybody who knows me knows that I love a shellfish, and I love crab. So I remember it was right after the flood. I called Avery, which is my husband, and I was like, babe, I want you to take me to Crab Kings. And he was just like, well, okay. But this was literally right after the flood, and so many roads throughout Houston were still flooded, but he made sure I got there and I got my crabs. And a few days later after that, we were on our way home, and on the way back home, I started to feel, we were just coming off of the HOV lane and we were pulling into our apartment at the time, and I started to feel a little queasy. I felt a little queasy at work, but right then and there I felt like real queasy, real nasty, and I just opened up the door to throw up because it was coming up. There was no way I was gonna stop it. It was coming up and it was coming out. So I just opened up the door and like threw up on the floor outside, and we were right at a stop sign, and I was just thinking to myself, what did I eat that's causing me to feel this way? And of course I didn't put two and two together, but a few days later I snapped on my husband, and it was like the third thing that happened, and I was just like, usually I don't act like this. So it was the third day after the third time. So I just remember, usually my husband likes to wake up in the morning and pray. I'm not a morning person, so I do not like to wake up in the morning and pray. But he woke up that morning, and for some reason when he told me he woke up and he prayed, I was pretty hot that he didn't wake me up to pray. So we got into a little argument. Well, I got into an argument with him because I wanted to get up. Really, I didn't care to get up to pray, but then after that, while I was at work, I was like, okay girl, you're tripping, like something's up. But I didn't really put two and two together to think, oh girl, you're pregnant. I was just like, something's going on. Maybe my cycle's coming, I'm PMSing, like I'm tripping. So of course I apologized to him and whatnot. This was probably about September the 20th. About September the 20th or the 19th, I think. But around that time, and I just remember I was just like, you know what, I'm going to get a pregnancy test. Of course, I'm sure it's going to come back negative, but I'm going to get a pregnancy test and just, you know, hey, nothing can hurt taking a pregnancy test. And I took it on September the 23rd. It was early in the morning, we were getting ready for work. I can't remember what day of the week it was, but I just remember we were getting ready for work. And I was just, you know, just did it out of the moment, like, hey, I can rule this out, you know, once I take this pregnancy test, I can rule this out. But we were trying. We wanted to get pregnant, but I was diagnosed. As I told you guys previously, I have endometriosis, and that is for a further video of how that affected me and my body with my miscarriage. And yeah, so we just decided, you know, at some point, hey, if it happens, it happens. But I didn't think it was gonna happen because, of course, my doctors told me that I couldn't get pregnant and that I would need to go through fertility treatments and all of that. So, yeah. So I just thought, hey, I'm just gonna take this and rule it out and we'll just go about our merry way. So I sat on the toilet, I had my pregnancy test, and I took it. And I didn't think anything of it. I brushed my teeth, started to get ready for work, and it hit me, hey girl, you took that pregnancy test, how about you check that out? So I went and looked at it, and you guys, to my surprise, there was 2 lines. Now I do have my pregnancy test at a later shoot. I will pregnancy test, I took 4 of them. So at a later time, I'll just try to show you guys that. I'll probably make that a shot or something. But I took the pregnancy test and it was positive. So I just remember freaking out and looking at the test, and I was just like, what? There's no possible way. Like, there's no way that I'm pregnant. So I tried to call my girlfriends at the time, Ilyasha and Jana. I tried to call them at the time because Jana she's my sister-in-law. She's had a baby before, so I'm just like, girl, you have to tell me if I'm going crazy because there are 2 lines here and this is telling me that it's positive. So, long story short, I called Jana. She didn't pick up the phone, and I tried to 3-way the call and call Ilyasha, but Jana's call went through voicemail, so I just ended up staying on the phone with Ilyasha. And when I told her, and see, all of us girls had a way that I was going to tell my husband if I did end up pregnant someday. So that's why I went straight to them and called them. And when I was on the phone, I went into the room and I just remember saying, Ilyasha, girl, I think I'm pregnant. And wait, I think first she was like, I don't remember how the conversation went, but her and her husband, I think they were getting ready for work that morning, and I think she mentioned it. I think I said, girl, I got something to say. And she was like, what, you pregnant? And I think I was just like, yes. Like, I started going crazy, like, yes, I'm pregnant. Like, I can't believe it. So I just remember going to the bathroom. I can't really remember exactly how everything happened, but I think I was in the restroom and I said it out loud, I'm pregnant. And my husband was in the shower at the time, bathing, showering or whatever, and I remember saying, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant. And he pulled back the curtain, and when he pulled back the curtain, he kind of was just like looking at me like, what? You're what? So he's like hurrying up, grabbing his towel so he can dry off, and I'm just like, I'm pregnant. So at that point, I was off of the phone with Ilyasha, and I we were just saying we're pregnant, and he's looking at the test. My husband wears glasses, so he's like pulling the test extremely close to his face, trying to read it, and yeah, we were pregnant. So we went about the day texting each other and talking about, oh my gosh, I can't believe that we're pregnant, and we were just so happy about it. So of course I scheduled my first initial appointment, and at about 4 or 5 weeks I started to feel some cramping going on, and a lot of people told me, hey, that's normal, that's just probably implantation, baby's probably implanting in your uterus or cervix or whatever everyone was telling me at the time. But if you know me, I'm a worrisome person, so initially you can't get it for your first prenatal visit until like I believe 5 or 6 weeks, where they can detect a heartbeat. And I wanted to get in ASAP. So originally my appointment was supposed to be for 5 weeks. 5 weeks almost going into 6. And when I went to my doctors, I was about, I think at the beginning of my 5 weeks. I couldn't wait anymore. So I told them that I had some cramping, and I just had some concerns. It was my first pregnancy, and I just wanted someone to just kind of reassure me and let me know that everything was okay. So I went in for the visit. My husband and I believe on like a Wednesday or Thursday, we went in and we did an ultrasound, and I do have images of that also, of our ultrasound pictures. I still have all of my pictures here. Do not have me on Instagram, add me. These pictures will be on there. But yeah, so long story short, we went in, they did some blood work, and after checking my progesterone, they realized that the progesterone wasn't low, but it wasn't high enough for them. They thought that it should be a little high, and they didn't tell me at that appointment that anything alarmed them. They just said that they prefer the progesterone to be a little high, and mine was just right at the mark, and they wanted it to be a little bit higher. So I didn't think any concern because they weren't concerned, so I just thought, hey, all right, we're good, I'm happy. I have some pictures, we got to see our peanut, so I was excited. Then a few weeks goes by, and the cramping is just continuing. They prescribed me some progesterone pills. Took those the whole time that they told me to take them. Now we're about 6-7 weeks in, and the cramping is still going on, but they're telling me that it's normal, so I decided, okay, just don't bug them too much about it. At our that last visit, I believe was 6 weeks. I believe it was 6 weeks. Please. Yes, actually, these pictures here are from 7 weeks. From 7 weeks. We still didn't hear the baby's heartbeat at the 7 weeks because the machine wasn't working. But 7 weeks goes in, and at our next visit, the 10-week visit, we were actually supposed to hear the baby's heartbeat. And then that was supposed to be the plan for everything. So 23rd is a Wednesday, I believe, and I was coming home from work, and I felt perfectly fine. That day I actually felt really great. I didn't have much cramping. Me and Avery were joking around, just laughing, having a good time, and we were on our way to go see our friends and my brother and sister-in-law. And on the way there, that's when I had my miscarriage. We were actually driving, so it felt as if I was peeing on my pants, and I just remember kind of like feeling down there, and I was just like, oh, like, did I just pee on myself? And a lot of strange things were going on with my body about at 9 weeks. A lot was going on. It was 9 weeks, 9 week and a half, and a lot was going on. I was noticing a lot of different stuff, but I was nauseous all the time. That's one thing that I forgot to mention to you guys. I was throwing up, I mean, every single day without fail. And it wasn't just morning sickness. I was throwing up after work. I was throwing up before I went to bed. I mean, I had a bucket with me. Every time I went to bed, I had to have a bucket because I was nauseous all the time. But, you know, of course, to me, I'm thinking, okay, this is normal. You know, this lets me know that I'm pregnant. You know, I shouldn't have to worry, especially speaking to a lot of the nurses, which my nurses were amazing. They were really, really nice and really sweet. The doctors were amazing. So I don't blame anything on anyone on what happened. It's just things happen. But rolled with it. Just, okay, I'm throwing up, and throwing up. It's just my new norm. So I threw up literally every single day. I threw up. I would throw up in the morning when I got to work. People would tell me to take orange juice, do ginger, peppermint, ice cubes. Nothing worked for me ever. So I just kind of looked over at Avery like, oh my gosh, like something's felt wrong. I didn't say something's wrong. I felt the blood clots, and I felt like a rush of heat down there, and it was just so hot. And I just remember touching down there and looking at my hand, and like before I can even look at my hand, I knew what it felt like. It felt as if I was having my period, and I just kind of felt down there, and I was just like, whoa. And I remember looking at it in shock. I was so shocked, and all I could think of, oh my gosh, my baby. The cramps came immediately afterwards. I mean, the cramps, the pressure, the pain just came like that. And I just remember calling my sister-in-law because it was kind of like her side of town, and I just thought maybe she would be able to help me. And I just remember before I called her, we were just like panicking. We didn't know what to do, if it was a miscarriage, if this was normal. I just remember having all kinds of thoughts running through my head. Fear, just anger, you know, confusion, just so much, you know, unexplainable feelings. They just came in at once. So I just remember talking to my sister-in-law, and I'm hysterical at this point, and they're telling me where the hospital is, and they're like, we're coming right now. And we're like looking, we're driving around looking for this hospital, and then finally my husband found it, and I mean, the blood was everywhere. My mom, and I was just crying, trying to figure out, Mom, is this normal? You know, does this happen often? Did this happen to you? You know, I'm just trying to figure out every positive answer to what's going on to me at this point. So I just remember Avery was trying to figure out where the emergency room was, and trying to get, like, honking at people, trying to get people to come to help us. We needed a wheelchair because I could barely walk. I mean, the blood was everywhere, you guys. I mean, it was everywhere. And I remember one of the nurses coming out with my husband after he ran inside to the ER room, and he brought out a wheelchair, and he was like, ma'am, I need you to get out the car and get on this wheelchair. And all I could think was to myself was, look, guy, this is not possible. It's not as if I couldn't get up. I could get up. It was just the feeling of getting up. Just the thought of getting up and what was already going on down there. I was so scared to get up. And all I could think was, oh my gosh, my baby's coming right out, and I'm gonna be sitting on my child. So all I could tell him was, I'm having a lot of clots right now. I think I'm gonna sit on my child. And he was really aggressive. And maybe that's what I needed at the time, because I was a mess, you guys. I was just hysterical, crying. I mean, I could barely see. The pants I had on, they were black, so you couldn't tell, but the seat that I was sitting was just coated in blood. I'm sorry, TMI, that's what this video is. But I just remember when I finally got onto the wheelchair, he wheeled me in the room. The doctor comes in. It took them a while to get in to the room. I'm bleeding everywhere. Everywhere I sit, there's just blood, clots, and it was just really, really, really bad. It's just so much going on around me. It was just, I felt as if I was in a hole and I couldn't get out of this hole. It was just, anybody who has ever gone through a miscarriage knows what I mean. It was just, you're unsure what's going on, you're not getting any answers, and it's just so much going on around you. And I just remember sitting on the bed, and the doctor came in and was like, we're gonna need you to get into this gown. And I'm looking around like, how can I get into a gown? I'm bleeding, clotting everywhere. But thank God for my brother and my sister-in-law. They're amazing. They went and they got me a change of clothes from Walmart, panties, wipes, and pads, just things that I could change into at the time. And the nurses at the hospital was just absolutely amazing. I had an amazing nurse. My sister-in-law was there. She was amazing. I mean, the people that were there that helped me were just absolutely amazing. And then the doctor came in and confirmed that I was having a miscarriage. And you guys, it was the toughest thing that we've ever had to hear in our lives. Just hard. After taking my blood test, they were saying that my progesterone levels were dropping. Although I was taking the progesterone pills that were affecting my body so much. They took me in for an ultrasound a few times before that, and taking me into the ultrasound. You guys, keep in mind, we made it to the hospital about 9 o'clock. I didn't leave that hospital till about 3 o'clock. And they let me sit there in blood. They let me, I mean, people I know that were in there, they're like, you guys need to tend to this girl. I was boo-hoo crying. I was just, you know, just in so much pain. And this was my first pregnancy, you know, and we've been trying to get pregnant, and I never thought that I could get pregnant. So just going through that in and of itself was just really, really tough. But we had our friends, our family, and people that really loved us there. And I just thank God for the ones that He sent. But during my ultrasound, I remember, the ultrasound tech was going through, and she was taking the images of my cervix and my uterus so that she can show to the doctor. And anybody who has had ultrasounds or any type of imaging done, they can't read to you. Only the doctors can read the imaging to you. But I was in desperation, you guys. I was so desperate. You know, her facial expressions were showing, they were saying something, but she couldn't tell me what she was finding. So I was just really concerned at what was going on. Is this a miscarriage, or is it not a miscarriage? So I'm asking her all kinds of questions. We're both asking her so many questions, and she's like, I can't tell you. And at this point, the bleeding had started to slow down a little bit. So it's about 12 o'clock in the morning, and 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning, and the bleeding had started to slow down a little bit. And I just remember she was like, the doctor's gonna read it to you and tell you everything that's going on, but unfortunately I can't tell you what the images are telling us. So fast forward about 2 o'clock, almost 3 o'clock, the doctor comes in and he does confirm that I was having a miscarriage. He said that the baby probably had already passed. They told me that that they did not see a presence of a fetus. They didn't see presence of a fetus, so the baby had passed. Well, that's when things got really tough for me, and I was just like, wow, maybe I was sitting on the baby, and I was just going through a lot of emotions at the time, just a lot of pain that came along with it emotionally and physically. But this was Wednesday, Thursday, called off for work Thursday, and my doctors wanted me to come in on Friday. And when I went in on Friday to see the doctor, they did an ultrasound there. And when they did the ultrasound, immediately when she went in and checked my cervix, I could see the baby was still there. We both looked at, all three of us looked at the screen, And when we looked at the screen, we all were just shocked, like, oh my gosh, the baby's still there. So I'm looking to see if she's gonna put on the microphone so we can hear if there's a heartbeat. And of course, when she places the microphone on for us to hear, there's no heartbeat. So I knew that, unfortunately, that the baby was gone. Although we could clearly see the baby on the screen, there was no heartbeat. So we went upstairs and we saw the nurse practitioner that day. She gave us the 3 options: the D&C, the option to just kind of wait it out and see what my body does. If not, they were gonna have to do a D&C afterwards. Or my third option was to, she called it being induced. It was basically I was being induced. Oh, also this video, I'm not very educated on a lot of this, so I don't want you to hold me by it. But yeah, I'm not saying these are options that you should take. This is the route that we took because of the pain that I was going through. But she did inform me that it was a form of being induced, and the medicine that, so we went with option 3, where I would be taking these 4 capsules and inserted as close to the cervix as possible. This is the name of the medication. I'm not sure if you guys can see that. So that was Friday, and came that night. I had my husband assist me with inserting the tablets, which he's amazing for. And immediately after inserting these tablets, you guys, the pain hit. At first, before he put them in, and she said about an hour. He put them in about 10 minutes. I walked in the kitchen, did something. By the time I walked back to the couch, I was in so much pain. At first, it just kind of felt like a little wave, like, whoa. I was just kind of looking around, like, my mother-in-law was there and my husband, and I just kind of was like, babe, when did she say this would start working? And he was like, in about an hour. So when I started to feel that, I was like, okay, maybe this is all in my mind. When I went to go sit on the couch, I mean, the pain hit so hard. It was like immediately the contractions started happening, and my body started to do stuff that I've never felt before, even on Wednesday when I was initially having the miscarriage. So that happened for about 3 hours, about three hours, I believe it was. But my body was doing something that it was not supposed to do. So that's what these pills do. They force your body to do what it's not doing on its own and what it's not supposed to do at that time. It softens your cervix. At 1 o'clock, I just remember everyone started to fall asleep. I kicked my husband out, kicked my mother-in-law out. I just didn't want anyone to touch me. I didn't want anyone to breathe over me, talk to me anymore. It was just so much pain that I was in, and I just, honestly, I wanted to die. That's how bad the pain felt. It just, the whole part, the lower part of my stomach felt as if somebody was just like turning it and just stretching it wide. And like I told you guys already, I have endometriosis, so I already have a lot of pain in my abdomen, in my cervix, and my pelvic. So added pain was just the worst. So about 1 o'clock, I remember waking Avery up. He was laying right next to me, and I remember waking him up saying, I think like a big blood clot is coming out and I need to use the bathroom really bad. And I just remember I would kind of pass out, wake up, pass out, wake up. And this was during one of those moments I was waking up, and before I passed out, I wanted to hurry up and get to the bathroom. So as soon as I got up off of the bed, it was just like a rush of blood and clotting, and it just came rushing down. And I remember going into the bathroom, and this is TMI, so if you've been disgusted so far, you probably should exit because it's about to get even nastier. But about the time I got to the bathroom, I felt the clots just coming out and coming out and coming out. And I remember taking my panties off, and when I took my panties off, this huge blood clot just fell. It fell right in my panties, but I just hurried up and took my clothes off and threw it into the tub. And when I threw it in the tub, I told my husband, that's the clot or sac that the baby's in. And I sat on the toilet, did what I had to do, cleaned up, wiped everything down, sanitized everything, and I went back to the tub to take the sac out. And that's when we found the baby in the sac, and our baby had fingers, not webbed fingers. The baby's fingers were open. All 10 fingers were there. All 10 toes were there, but the baby was completely formed. And that was, I think, the toughest part for us, was seeing, you know, wow, we actually did it. It was the toughest journey that me and my husband has ever gone through. Holding our own child in our hands. If you've ever gone through a miscarriage, just want to let you know that you're not alone. There are many people out there that have gone through miscarriages, that have suffered what you suffered. I don't want to go into details about what happened after seeing our baby and what was discussed with our providers or anything, but it was very tough having to go through all of that. The recovery from just that miscarriage alone has taken a toll on both my husband and I, and we're still recovering from it. It's about to be exactly 1 year, October the 23rd, and we are still battling. I didn't even go into details to tell you guys everything, just the tears, the pain that comes from it, but we've prayed so much, and we have some really great people in our lives that really care about us. But I will discuss with you all about my endometriosis and the struggle that I go through with that alone. We are still actively trying to get pregnant. I know a lot of people ask us that all the time. Are you guys still trying? When is another baby coming? We don't know, but we are trying. We're definitely trying for another baby. Try not to discuss it with everyone. But one mistake I will not do next time is tell everyone. If you are going through what I've gone through, all I can do is pray for you and hope the best. Definitely discuss and talk about it. Don't hold that in. It's very, very tough already going through what you're going through and building all kinds of problems along that in your head on top of everything else. So discuss it, talk about it, let people love you, and yeah. But if you have any questions, please leave them down below. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I do plan on uploading more videos and talking about my struggles a little bit more and about what I'm going through. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. Go ahead and like this video, comment, subscribe, share it with everyone that you know, and I'll talk to you guys.